right. To my left here is Charlie Ahern. A round of applause, please. Charlie is best known for documenting street culture and the rise of hip-hop in the 1970s in New York City through photography, film, and slideshows. Ahern captures the excitement and raw energy infused with the movement. In addition to Wildstyle's 4-decade legacy, Charlie Ahern has continued to create as a filmmaker, an artist, educator, and author. Notably co-authored and contributed his photographs to Yes, Yes, Y'all, the Experience Music Project Oral History of Hip-Hop's First Decade. In a lot of ways, that book is one of the few complete ethnographies of the Bronx hip-hop scene in the 1970s. Just as, in my mind as an educator, just as an important document as Wildstyle is. We have with us also Grandmaster Kaz. A round of applause. Kaz born in the BX, right? Born in the Bronx, he's a legendary figure in the history of hip-hop and an influential pioneer in the art of DJing and rapping. As a key member of the Cold Crush Brothers, Kaz played a pivotal role in shaping the early foundations of hip-hop culture during the infancy of its music and culture. As a member of the Cold Crush, Kaz helped establish the group as one of the most revered and respected acts in the emerging hip-hop scene in the 70s and 80s. I want to hear it for those of you who know the deal about Cold Crush. Can I hear a round of applause? It's a name that it almost brings fear, like fear and respect of what they brought to the game and the development of the art of rhyme. Kaz was featured prominently in the Ice-T 2010 documentary, Something from Nothing, The Art of Rap. He's been an important contributor to the Cornell University's Hip Hop Archive and their public events, hosts the Hush Hip Hop Tours, right? The official sightseeing tours of the Bronx and Harlem, toured with LL Cool J's Rock the Bell music festivals, and currently co-hosts Sirius XM with That's the Joint with Shy Rock Money on Mondays through Fridays at 10 a.m. It's also a pleasure personally, like as a kid growing up here in Bethlehem, where I got hip hop transmitted to me through tapes from the radio or maybe that random 12-inch you find in the record store. We have on stage with us the DJ that influenced me at the age or whatever I was, 8 or 9. I was like, I want to do this. This is incredible. On the far right, we have Grand Mixer DXT. In a conversation with DXT, he talked about how he's, maybe a second-generation Bronx DJ pioneer. He witnessed a legendary DJ battle between the famed Kool Herc and DJ Smokey. Is that right? DJ Smokey. Yeah. In the 1970s, and soon after dedicated himself to hip-hop DJing. But the special thing about Grand Mixer DXT is, hands down, he's widely recognized as the first DJ to transform the turntable into an instrument of percussion and elevate the DJ scratch to new levels of soloing, and improvisation, innovation that we now call turntablism. These dynamic skills and vision for hip-hop DJ were realized on the 1983 hit record Rocket, with an electro-funk breakthrough by producer Bill Laswell and DXT. They crafted it with the renowned jazz musician Herbie Hancock. DXT's solo scratching on the live performance of Rocket at the 1984 Grammy Awards has been credited as the first moment a worldwide audience was introduced to the DXT's techniques. He's produced or featured a turntablist on scores of records over the last 4 decades with Herbie Hancock, Ginger Baker, Sly, and Robbie. And his 1985 record, The Home of Hip Hop, also stands as the first recorded documents purposely outlining the Bronx legacy as ground zero of hip-hop music as the world knows it. So we have these 3 esteemed luminaries from the hip-hop scene with us to talk about Wildstyle. And so I turn to the man in the middle of it all, the writer, director, producer of Wildstyle, Charlie. And I think you would agree, Charlie, it was not just you. It was like a collective effort to make this movie come true. How would you describe the other participants and who else was involved in the making of this movie?
There have been people that call it the best documentary, and I go, that it's not a documentary. But that's not to say that it was a scripted movie the way people think movies are made. It was an experiment. It was an art movie for teenagers. We were, and I say by we, I mean the participants were engaged creatively in the process from the beginning, whether I'm first meeting with Fab Five Freddy to discuss the concepts of this movie. It's about concepts. It's about art and the relationship between art and music, and how this was exploding in 1980 in New York as a consequence of what happened in the 70s. And we had Lady Pink I cast Lady Pink when he was 16 years old as one of the participants in the movie. And without me actually knowing it, immediately at the same time, Lee Quinones was, in a sense, falling in love with Lady Pink, which was an unheard of thing for a graffiti artist of his stature. It pretty much ruins everything, right?
So you gotta concentrate on your art, right?
Let's be creative about this. I'm just trying to say that what I did was I was completely enraptured with those around me who were the creative souls of hip-hop. And I was enjoying my proximity to these people. And we will start with Kaz, because I met Kaz very soon when I was starting to think about making this movie. And there were ideas that we talked about that had to do with me coming up to visit Kaz, where he happened to live right next to this park, where he said the MCs were, and you have to be jumping in on this, because I can't be just telling your story.
I mean, well, my story is part of your story, and your story is part of mine. I mean, I can take it from there. Once Charlie and I met, I was excited. I was excited because it was like a validation, like a stamp of approval that someone outside of our culture thought what we were doing was worthwhile and worth spreading to the rest of the world. And that just, just kind of solidified it for me. I knew I wasn't wrong. Okay. I know he wasn't just bullshitting around.
Kaz invites me to where he's living, right next to the park. He opens up his closet, and there is a stack of t-shirts of varieties of colors, with hats of matching colors, with sneakers of matching colors in his closet. But the most important part was on the top shelf of the closet. And that was these, what do they call those marble work pads that you used in school? That you used to write in?
Composition books.
Okay.
Composition.
He pulled out composition books, thank you. He pulls out a pile of composition books just like this, and he spreads them across the top of the bed, like a deck of cards. Every single book, when you open it up, the penmanship was exact. Wow. What does that tell us? It tells us that he didn't compose this with an eraser and a pencil. No, he did those in his mind while he was playing basketball downstairs. After it's all done,
I don't know what to say. It is what it is. But I mean, that's what brought us together. And because of his enthusiasm for the craft and my enthusiasm for his enthusiasm, that enthusiasm spread, right, amongst the rest of us. And like, yo, this dude want to make a movie about us, about hip hop and this and this and that. So myself and Busy B and we just started gathering the troops. The people that we felt should be a part of this thing, and told Charlie, yo, there's this and that, there's this one, and that, and that's how the ensemble came together. As far as the rappers and DJs.
I was as a DJ DXC, I was wondering what you had heard about the movie, how you got involved in it.
I think Fab brought you into the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, I'm not
I
gonna take
don't know.
credit
I got a call, and
from Fred.
I guess, and I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Let's call a spade and just like put it on the table and say,
Yeah.
Fred called you up.
Okay.
And
I don't know.
Director.
I'm glad you got your sense of humor.
Fred is a little spady, though.
You call him a spade, Joe. Let's go. Keep it moving.
Yes. So the point being that you were coming with a reputation that was so vast, but yet you were not at the clubs when I was in the clubs at the Ecstasy Garage.
No. I was
He
in Mount Vernon.
You gotta understand, but also he was an evolutionary being.
So that
In other words, he was evolving ahead of some of us.
Right.
Like, for instance, we went to Japan, right? We were the first hip-hop group to go to Japan.
So you thought.
And we get off at the airport, and who is there at the airport?
DST.
Like, how do we explain this?
So
I went back, it's 4-hour ride from Tokyo to Narita Airport. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna take that 4-hour ride back just to greet them, because I knew they were coming.
Just to be here ahead of us.
I was there for a month already.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, if that says something about your relationship to us in relationship to everything else.
So Charlie,
Yes.
when you're casting the movie and putting this together with Fab and others, like, there's no question in your mind you want to use actual practitioners, people who are doing it, like DXT, like Kaz, like, were you trying
That
to
goes
find-
without saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's using the very best of who is available and who is around. And it was never a casting process. We never did auditions
Right.
like that other movie.
Well, you don't
the
need
other ones were-
That other movie.
They invite 300 people to a room. They'd invite 300 people to a room like you're gonna get any closer to the
So,
talent.
I'm
No.
happy to say this, that, immediately after Wild Style, within a year or two, there's a variety of Hollywood renditions of Wild Style, Beat Street
Right,
being the
that's
most
right.
notable.
Beat Street.
Break in from the West Coast. They might have they're not like Wild Style, right? Like, as
They are not like Wild Style.
like what you're getting a sense of is the for lack of a better word, the authenticity of what you're about to see on the screen. And you said something early on I want to pick up on, is like, in your mind, as you're putting this together, are you making a documentary? Are you making a movie? What are you doing? Because you're using the real deal.
I don't call it either one of those things.
Interesting.
I told you
different.
right at the beginning, it was an experimental movie, and it was not about, it was about getting the most you can for, I was very cheap, I wasn't spending a lot of money.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other panel.
I'm looking I did that for comic approach, but no.
This is
I
good,
was
Charlie.
trying
This
to
is real
make-
good shit.
I was trying to make $1 million.
This is real, right?
I was
This is
trying to
real.
make $1 million movie out of $100,000.
Right.
In other words, and it was about when you're that close to it, and you're really shooting just the thing that you need to get across the creativity of it, rather than whatever else we can call a movie. The movie is not known because of its dramatic impacts or script or any of this. As a matter of fact, there never was an official script in this movie. But I wanted to ask, I've been meaning to ask Kaz this question, which is actually a fun
sorry,
question.
baby.
Is like, can you explain to these people what a plate is?
A plate? A plate. Okay, a plate. It's like a dish, like you eat your food on. No, I'm only kidding. I know what you're talking about. Charlie's referring to a dub plate. And in the early days, very, very early days of hip hop, some DJs would go into a studio and lay a bunch of break beats over and make a metal plate of it, like a record, but back then they called it a plate. And it's like an acetate version of a record, and you can only use it like a few times before it wears out. I wore my shit out.
We used it until you couldn't hear what was on the record.
Right, it was inaudible. So, but that was what a plate was. And some of the first plates that were done, I did one with my partner Disco Wiz. I know Africa Bambaataa did a few of them. dub plates back in the early days.
Yeah, he was the original bootlegger of hip hop.
You're right. So yeah, but my plate was like a pause tape that me and my partner Disco Wiz in the house, and we did in the house, and we would just like play a break beat, and when the break come, we just hit it and then pause it, and then go back again and wait when it come again, hit it, pause it. All right, go back again. So it'll go dan, and we created a whole
That's
plate.
what Wild Style was. That's what bring it up. You dig what I'm saying?
I got you.
In other words,
Wild
That's
Style
how
was
we
the
made
plate.
Wild Style.
we did, when we shot the basketball scene, if people did that the way they did it in Hollywood, they would have gone into a studio, created all the tracks exactly as they were supposed to sound, made sure everything was really great, and then they play it back, and then everyone would act like they're doing the lines, but they have to do it in sync with it. You know, that's a lot of
Can I ask a
trouble.
question about the basketball scene? Because it's incredible. The basketball scene's this, well, the first time you see sports and basketball and hip hop fused together, and it's all one take, right? Like in the sense, like nothing's edited. Like that's
The lineup is one
take.
shot
Yeah.
because it has to be, because they're performing for the camera, which is on a track, which is moving.
so that
But the rest of the scene is shots of them playing with each
play
other.
ball.
yeah.
And those are come
Yeah.
together. My question for DXT and Kaz as performers in the movie, did it, like when you were doing it, did it feel like you were part of a movie, or it was like throwing a jam, or like, you know, did the parties have a different kind of sense to it?
For me, and I pretty much can speak for the group and the rest of us, it was a jam.
Yeah.
It was a party. It was just recording us doing what we do. The basketball scene was pretty, fairly theatrical, I'll say, but for the most part, it was only, that kind of West Side Story kind of confrontation that we had, which was Charlie's idea, and which was a great idea. It made the scene. But basically, we was out there playing basketball against our competition, our actual real competition in hip hop. So everything had to be taken back a bit because our competition, our rivalry was real
Right.
at that time. I mean, we was having battles and stuff outside of the movie, but in the movie, we kind of kept it civil,
So
pretty much.
the scene at the Dixie, I mean, that's one of the many battles between the Freaks and Cold Crush, right? Like that you guys had.
Well, it was more of a showcase, you know what I mean? Not a direct battle, we never addressed them, they never addressed us.
Okay.
It was actually at 2:00 in the afternoon, just to ruin actually shouldn't even say that because these guys are about
It's
to
too
make a
late.
movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really didn't play into it the way it did in real life. You know what I mean? The rivalry, the battle, it was like there in the film. But I mean, for real, we was really battling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We was going at it. We was cursing each other out. We, almost came to blows a few times and things like that.
That energy
So,
is real in the movie. You can feel that. You can
yeah,
definitely feel
yes. But we toned it down, like I said, somewhat. You can still sense the rivalry between us, and especially at the end, okay? Because the movie, and Charlie can elaborate on it, which the ending that we ended up with wound up being great. But we had an alternate ending, for the film, which had to be reshot. That whole scene, the amphitheater scene at the end, had to be reshot. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were in that scene. But when it got recut, Charlie
the
could go into
scenes
why it
were
didn't.
shot in October of '81 and in May of '82.
Amphitheater,
All of them.
everything was shot between those.
It was reshot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we couldn't make the reshoot. The Cold Crush couldn't make the reshoot for whatever reason. And then the Fantastic Five showed their ass since we wasn't there. They were like, oh, okay, no Cold Crush. Well, we gonna run from the back of the crowd all the way through the audience, and they did their thing. They made it a scene. They made it a spectacle.
Hip hop.
My
Hip
story
hop,
is a little
right?
bit different. I came on the scene as a purist of the culture,
Love it.
and I did not make the connection at that time to people spray painting right around me while I'm DJing. I would throw my turntables at them. And so I didn't experience that.
Keep the mic to your mouth.
Yeah, keep it
close.
Watch it.
DDD.
All right, Buffy.
No. Jesus.
I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so,
Over his head.
I'm from a musical background as a musician. I'm a drummer actually, and I got into the turntables.
It's probably here.
And so my education was from that mindset. And so I was too immature though to make the connection of what
You can watch the
him
movie
and
anytime
Fat
with
Five
the
Freddy were
kids.
doing.
Let them see
I
the
did not
movie,
connect
but we need to
the
go eat.
artistic side to the music side at that
And the
time.
panel finish.
And I didn't recognize that it was really about these cultural expressions of all types coming together. And so I decided that I really didn't want to be in the film. And Charlie was very upset with me because I said, don't film my face. Go ahead, you can take it from me.
It's not that I was upset, I just didn't really even hear that instruction. I later looked at the footage and there was in fact no image of your face, just your hands.
Yeah, I said, just film my hands because I knew that was important.
Because of what you did, you know, you cut good times in a way that was conductive to a climax. You say at the end of a movie requires a climax, and the combination of your cutting and Kool Mo D's interruption or his incredible. I won't say anything more.
Well, I just knew
want to
that.
keep this.
Right, I knew that no one. The only place you would have seen that, you had to be in Westchester to see me do that, or at the Roxy where I was the DJ. At the
That's
Roxy.
right. That's right.
So I knew that if I did that day, it would be, you know, a bigger audience would get to see that particular style of turntable.
If I can, I want to credit you in some way for presenting a hip hop DJ in a different way, right?
Well, that's what I did.
Right? Like it's not just the commitment, like Flash and the party DJ. Like I didn't see your hands. I could barely see you in Rocket. I'm like, who is this dude? That mystery around it is a lot like. It is a lot like jazz. Like,
well, I was thinking improvisation, and
yeah,
so
right.
I was thinking of Dizzy, Monk, Ella. I was scatting in my head, and so that was my approach. That was my background, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to play the record. I'll play the turntable, and I didn't even call it a turntable anymore. I called it a turn fiddle.
Wow.
Wow, Davis ass nigga over here. Something else.
Hey, listen. Hey, by the way,
I really didn't even recognize
Yeah,
it.
this dude right here.
And as a matter of fact, the needle was just
it was a minute possibility. He was in my second grade class. Second grade, this guy.
So I've been hearing the bullshit for
So that's a good question. In my mind, I'm like, this is your lives, right? Like I think about my teenage years and like I ran around with my friends or etc. And you all did that, and it's become this, right? The world over. Can you explain like what that feels like? You want to go first?
No.
That's a big question.
It's a great question because it has a great answer for it, you know, and it is a testament of who and what we come from. We have been severed from the origins of our expressions, our cultures, and everything, completely cut off.
Go homeland.
And several generations have gone by of this disconnection, but somehow, and I look at it as epigenetic, that we have connected to these expressions. It's written in our code. Right. And that's one of the purposes of who we are as a people. And this is something that we can now see now that the DNA research now shows the origin of the Kemetic civilization before the Sahara became a desert that went through climate change. that civilization, the genetic research shows a direct connection to the people who are called Black Americans today.
Right.
And so there's a very important process that's going on now to help us understand what it is that we've done. We never saw videotapes of the break dances from the 1930s. I never saw that shit. None of us did. We never heard the rappers from the 1920s. We never saw that, but we did it anyway.
Right.
We connected to it anyway. And now the whole planet, the entire planet, is now replicating what happened in the Bronx. And I think that's a very powerful thing. And it's a very special thing. And we should look at it and use that to understand why some of the things, that's being shot at us is happening. Because, and I don't want to go into a completely political thing, but I'm not going to get up here and not say what needs to be said when it comes to how we're being impacted by the social structure that attacks us every time we do these things. We've been talking about this whole year, I'm hearing about $1 trillion business. For who?
Right. That's right.
Someone has extracted our cultural wealth from us again. And so it is important, these panels, to have these conversations, to get to these things. We can talk about partying all day, but we really need to talk about what is actually happening to us socially while our young brothers are out there murdering each other and they're playing it on YouTube.
Right.
These things are more important than
right.
party. And so
Wow.
I think that the fact that this happened and we did not know that we did this before, this happened before, it happened before that before, it happened before that before, and it's written in our code. And our mission and our purpose here is to share culture and to give culture and embrace other cultures and transcend culture. But the world has to come together in order to do it properly. Because now who we are is everywhere again.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I'm gonna tell you that.
That's so fast. There's something that you said.
Now all I need now is your credit card.
Well, you know what? Like,
Charlie's looking at me like, Charlie's like,
this is
You turned this into an entirely different conversation.
Good. I like that. Thank you, Dee. Because I'll speak upon what Dee said is that what I've heard Wild Style is described as one of the most innocent descriptions of hip hop, and in my mind, it's one of the most human. It's not scripted. It's raw energy coming from you, from the performers, from the filmmaker, in a way that I think speaks much more directly to what Dee was just talking about what's going on with hip hop and its engagement with the world.
and what Charlie and Fab taught me is why I'm saying what I'm saying. I got that from understanding what they were doing. They were showing the human expression, not just this is breakers, this is this. These are things that you can go all the way back to the beginning of time. There's someone crafting,
Right.
someone speaking,
Right.
and if you think a human being is not going to test the limitations of his body, especially when it's applied to rhythm, you're not paying attention.
Yes.
And so this is that in our time, under these circumstances.
Excellent.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you. Listen,
Sorry about that.
in a lot of ways, you're the shepherd of this great film, and it's been taken worldwide. Do you have any final words that you want to say about Wild Style before we embark on our viewing of it?
Before you answer that, can I ask you a question real quick, Charlie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you understand the impact of what you did had on me? I need to know that.
We're getting into it.
Because
We actually had this discussion.
it's very deep.
This is not like we haven't discussed this.
Yeah,
We have discussed it.
when it hit me, what they were doing just blew me away. That's what brought me to where I'm at. Because I was like,
I understand that you're not saying this in some way to complain or to.
No.
Quite the opposite. You're saying
The
that
opposite.
you were naive and not understanding.
I was too immature to understand the social connection
Yeah.
of these expressions. I connected them the way we were being trained to connect them, when it was more vast than that.
Excellent.
Any final words?
Enjoy the film.
Please enjoy the film. I told Charlie I talk at this film. It's a live and living thing. And
We're gonna talk all the way through the film, so I hope.
yeah.
Not me.
All right, thank you all. Please, a round of applause for our panelists again. I want to thank ArtsQuest for helping us put this together. And this little film.
It's an ongoing discussion, okay. Yeah, it's a little deep.
Good.